First, let me start with my introduction. I'm Yash, and I'm having 10 plus year of experience in QA. And in my career of 10 plus years, I worked on Selenium and like APM, Rest Assured, and number of tools. So before 2 years back, I joined ThoughtWorks, and ThoughtWorks started my cloud journey. So the day I joined ThoughtWorks, I got assigned to all the cloud project, AWS, Azure mainly. So this is how ThoughtWorks helped me to grooming my skills, like learning new cloud stuff, etc. So before starting the session, let's have some chit chat. So like it's a like very generic question for all the participant, like what makes a QA profile complete? So let's say you have heard about like the full stack developer who knows like the back end, front end. So if like what skill set we need to have to call out ourselves as a like full stack QA? Any answers, any random answers would be appreciated. Well, so like if you look at the current market trend, it's not about like if you know only like Selenium or any kind of what can I say, any API automation tool, which is not sufficient as of now. So if you apply for like good companies, no matter it's like e-commerce, any product company or the company like ThoughtWorks, we always looking for a whole soul, a good engineer, a good QA engineer. So when we talk about the good QA engineer, apart from the like technologies, automation technologies, this infrastructure plays a very crucial role in your career. So even any language, you can automate your web, you can automate your API. But on top of that, if you are really good in infrastructure, you can help your organization in handling production issues. You can make your production stable. Okay, in case of any production issue, you are so self-sufficient, you don't need to help any developer or any infra person to debug the root cause of the issue. You are self-sufficient enough because you are so good in infra. So that's why we chose this topic to discuss in this forum. So let me share my screen. Cool. So recently I delivered a project on this technology Terraform, and I found it really cool and a very good learning set to boost up my career. So let's talk about this. So what is Terraform basically? I can dictate in a very brief manner. Like it is a infrastructure as a core tool which allow you to build, change, and versioning your infrastructure safely and efficiently. So the very first thing, like I can I would like to call about infrastructure as a code. So few of you might be known this, and those who are not aware this, I can explain. So infrastructure as a code is a way where you are only supposed to take care of your code. Rest of the things, environment related stuff and infrastructure related stuff would be taken care by the infrastructure provider you are taking care of. Maybe it can be Azure, it can be of AWS, it can be of Google Cloud, or any third party service provider who are providing you infrastructure. So Terraform is not only automate on infrastructure, but can control your infrastructure, launching a machine, maintaining a machine, editing a machine, and at the end destroying the machine. So it can have a fully control on the life cycle of your automation. So coming to like market wide report, almost 1373 companies like Uber, Udemy, Slack, and like major tech giant are using this tool. And number of provider like AWS, Azure, GCP, they're like more than 100 plus providers are supporting Terraform. So in short, you only have to learn about Terraform. Okay, so Terraform, and on top of that, you can automate actually your Azure, AWS, GCP, or any cloud you are working on, and given a condition, it is supported by the Terraform. So only you need to learn about Terraform. Rest of the things will be taken care by Terraform itself. Coming to key features, basically. So the first thing, infrastructure as a code, which I explained. So here you can write down your infrastructure in a human readable language. It's not a very machine level kind of language, which is very difficult to understand. Is the language is similar to the more of SQL, where you can easily understand what kind of infrastructure you are going to create, maintain, and all. Execution plans. It actually helps to write down and maintain your execution plan, and it will always ask your permission before starting the execution. For example, you want to launch a machine, so just running the Terraform script would not automatically launch the machine. First it will ask your permission, then it will, so your entire execution is a control, it's in your hand. Resource graph. Terraform build a resource graph and create and modify non-dependent resources in parallel. This allows Terraform to build resources as sufficiently as possible and gives you greater insight of your infrastructure. So let's take an example. I want to set up an environment where I need a EC2 virtual machine. And on top of that, I want some load balancer, some security group. And at the end, I come up with the requirement of a S3 bucket or maybe a RDS database. Yeah. So some of the resources can be dependent on each other and can be independent. So it's the responsibility of Terraform which resource it will launch first, second, like dependent or independent. Like for example, independent resources can be executed in parallel. So all this would be taken care of the Terraform, and for this Terraform maintain an internal graph. That's how the resources are connected among themselves. Change automation. Terraform can apply complex changes to your infrastructure with minimal human interaction. Once you have set up your Terraform code, framework, and pipelines, then very less human interaction required. Everything can be automated. So coming to terminology. So once we will start on Terraform, two terminology you will use in day-to-day of your work. The one is the provider. So provider are your infrastructure you are currently working on, or your project, your code is hosted on. So provider in this case it can be AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, Oracle, Kubernetes, Alibaba, and number of cloud provider which are existing right now. So all these things are provider. Provider is something where your infrastructure is deployed. Second is resources. So let's take an example. In my project, entire infrastructure is on AWS. So my provider is AWS, and all the resources of provider. So what kind of resources are? AWS instance, AWS virtual machine, AWS IAM user, AWS S3 bucket. All the functionalities, all the features which are supported and provided by AWS are the resources of this, are the resources, and can be treated as resources by the Terraform. So from now going onwards, we will discuss about a very general, very common actually automation scenario of infrastructure, that we will launch Amazon EC2 machine. And first we will write a script for this, we will launch this, and we will at the end destroy this. So before, we first will discuss about all the phases and all the necessary prerequisite for this, and then we will have a code walkthrough and we'll launch a machine. So this, since this is like very introductory session for the Terraform, that's why we chose this simple scenario. Okay, so I can, so this is a very generic script. I will dictate line by line, and at the end, after going through this, we will have a live walkthrough. So one file, this is a very basic instance.tf. Here the like tf denotes the Terraform. So Terraform identify all those files which have extension as .tf. Okay. So the very first line is the resource AWS instance example. This is the resource which we earlier talked. So here we want to launch a AWS instance. So AWS instance is our resource and example is the name. You can give in any name, whatever the variable is sort of a variable name. So whatever you want, you can assign as per your convenience. Then here we are assigning AMI in a AWS region. So AMI are more of a Amazon's machine images, which contains information like your operating system, your memory requirement, your CPU requirements. So it's of a Amazon machine image, which will have all the operating system level information. Then region. So just briefing, like everything in AWS is divided into regions and zone to maintain disaster recovery and some other advantages. So here the reason we have passed. How we have passed, we will check in code walkthrough. And the instance type, I am taking T2 micro. So why micro? So here it is like a test script. So you can take an example. In AWS, we have different type of machine. Can be like micro, it can be macro. So it depends the type of environment you are trying to set up. For example, or the dev environment or kind of Q environment. So the operational storage, maybe like CPU memory requirement can be very minimal. Okay, so the T2 micro can be sufficient enough. But when it comes to the production environment, we need like really large infrastructure. So we can go for the like micro, large, extra large kind of machine size. It depends what kind of traffic we want to handle using our product or using our website, whatever it is. Next is subnet. So is it like general? It's not only a random subnet idea I have written here. Actually, we can get it from the AWS. So whenever you launch, any EC2 machine, any EC2 with no matter is from either Terraform or by the AWS console, it always has a subnet. It will always launch in a subnet. So this is the idea of that subnet. And the tag is like test VM I have defined just to identify what machine I have launched. You can, it is a very, again, is a variable name. You can write, you can give any tag name as per your choice. Then next is the provider file. So as I told you, for any script, for any infrastructure, you first need a provider. As we have taken here provider as AWS, so the name of the provider is AWS, and these are the access key and secret keys. So which I just as a encoded is the access key just to hide my credentials. So access key or secret key, this define which AWS account you want to associate or you want to launch your EC2 machines. And here is a reason that will again we will walk through in our code. Okay, so before walking through the code base, let's talk about the Terraform phases. So when from downloading and installing the Terraform, and after installing it, when it's come to deploying your actual code base, Terraform has some phases, and these phases are necessary to execute it in a sequential order. So let's talk about this. So the very first phase is the initialization phase. So we write it in a like short form. It implies Terraform initialization. So after you have installed Terraform in a machine, and you want to launch any machine, or you want to run your Terraform script. So first of all, what you have to do, you have to run a command Terraform init. So what this command will does? This command, after running this command, Terraform expect to be invoked from a working directory that contains configuration file written in Terraform language. Second, a Terraform directory must be initialized before Terraform can perform any operation in it. So once you run the Terraform init, Terraform will create a internal working directory for itself where it will store all the plugins and all the necessary dependency that are required to launch your infrastructure. So In case of AWS, it will download all the necessary AWS plugin modules, etc. And for the AWS, or sorry, Azure, it will download all the dependency for the Azure. So this is how it happens in initialization phase, and it's very important phase. Till the time you don't initialize your Terraform script, your Terraform plugins, it will not work. So once I have initialized a Terraform, a working directory is created. What this working directory can have? So it will have all the configuration that are expected to changes over time, and a hidden .terraform directory where Terraform uses to manage cache, provided plugins and modules, and static data used to manage by Terraform state file. Okay. So once I have installed the Terraform init, a working directory is there. It will have all the necessary plugins and provider of my modules and plugins of my provider. Apart from that, it will create a hidden Terraform directory in which all these plugins and modules are there. So you can't directly see this. There are some other commands to view the content of hidden.terraform file, but this is how the structure of working directory is. On the top of that, Terraform create a state file. So what is a state file? Basically, let's back to the our example where we want to launch a EC2 machine and some load balancer and some S3 and some RDS. So all this shows then how these components are connected with each other in my infrastructure, in my AWS. Like S3 bucket is associated with my EC2 instance, and that under this EC2 instance again there is a ELB volume mounted associated with this. So these components are connected. So Terraform, how the Terraform will know what are the components and how these components are connected, whether these are dependent, whether these are non-dependent. So all this information Terraform will maintain in its state file. So a state is simply tells the state of your infrastructure, and it will change with the time where you modify your infrastructure state. So whenever you change your infrastructure, the state file can be changed. So once you run the Terraform in it, this kind of console output you can expect. Just notice the first line, initialize the backend. So what is backend here? So backend is generally, so Terraform has a two kind of versions. One is like Terraform locally, you can say, and another is like Terraform cloud. So in your local version, your state file is present on your local system, but when it comes to cloud, it can store to the cloud. So backend is somehow, so backend, so whether Terraform has its default backend, also you can customize the backend, your Terraform, which can be like S3 and all, where all the rules and logic are stored by the Terraform. All the commands, rules, logic, these are maintained by the Terraform. So this is the backend, and once you will dig into some advanced level stuff, you will come to know the importance of this importance of backend in Terraform. And but as this is a very introductory session, we are not going to cover this. Next is a apply phase. So now I have planned my infrastructure, what can be infrastructure I want, and I have initialized the Terraform. Now comes like review state. So Terraform apply phase is actually launch the infrastructure. You initialize, and once you run the Terraform apply, it will first ask your permission. Like, do you want to perform these actions? If you enter value yes, then your infrastructure will be created in AWS console, otherwise not. And even given a condition, you have a admin rights to launch those operations. For example, I want to launch an EC2 machine, but my infrastructure provider or my DevOps team has not given me right to launch those EC2 permission access. So no matter I launch here from infrastructure, but my account, since that's why the secret key and access ID were defined there. So that tells Terraform in which account it wants to launch your machine. So by any chance, if the permission are not granted to me, I would not be able to launch given access key and AWS secret key in the code. So once, so it is a very Terraform destroy is a very important command, and you should never miss it. Let's say you have created the infrastructure, launch it, but you forgot to destroy. What will happen? Till the time the machine is running, it will keep on, billing. It will keep on billing. So at the end, will have to pay. So always make sure destroy your resources if these resources are no more in use by anyone. Again, when you want to run destroy, it will again ask your permission. If you say yes, then it will destroy and you can get the output like this. As I told you, command should be executed in a sequential way. So it can be first is you have to apply Terraform initialization, then apply, and at the end you will have a Terraform destroy. And once all this done, this kind of output, the machine, this is the T2 micro, which is running with the instance ID you can get on an AWS console. You can verify actually like what kind of machine you have created, and that same kind of configuration are present in AWS console. So we will talk about few use cases later once walk through with the code. Is my screen is visible? The editor is visible?
Yes.
So the very first thing is my instance file, which I told you, where I'm just maintaining my subnet information, machine size of machine, micro, macro, and the tag. So for example, I write tag here as a okay. Here is my provider, which has my access key, secret key, reasons, and it shows the provider is my AWS. And this is a my variable file where I'm just maintaining variable. So all the like instance, AMI, and like reason, secret key are or everything which are supposed to be get changed should be written as a part of your variable file. And at the last, it is a version which is shows that I want to run this script on a version greater than equal to 0.12, which is the version of your Terraform. Okay, all the files are with the extension with .tf, which says, so if you don't append with the files with tf, Terraform will not recognize them and it will not be part of the execution. This is my tf state file, which I have told you about the Terraform state. It will have all the state of your infrastructure, and this is a backup file. So tf state or backup file, so Terraform always have two tf state file. One is the only tf state, one is the tf state backup. So for example, as of now I have only one ec2 machine and one s3. So for this tf state file will be so the information will be stored in a tf state file. Later on, let's say I add one rds instance in my infrastructure. So for that, so before launching or creating the TF state file for the modified infrastructure, first Terraform will take the existing TF state file into the backup. Will take the backup. So in case of any creation of, let's say you mistakenly create any wrong infrastructure. So using this TF state or backup file, you can easily move back to your older infrastructure. So that's how powerful Terraform is. So let's move back to the commands. First, we will initialize the Terraform. This initialize the backend. Once all the version is done, you can get this kind of green message that everything worked well. One more command I'm gonna share with you is Terraform plan. So what Terraform plan is, once you have write down your all the script, it will suggest you what kind of infrastructure you want to create. For example, I want to create an AMI with ID this, ARN and all. I have not given to this, so these are not there. So this is the a roughly plan that this Terraform is suggesting me that if you execute this plan, this kind of infrastructure you're gonna get, where the AMI ID is this and the machine instance is T2 micro, subnet ID is this with the tag name is Woodware. So this is how it give me what will the output after running my script. Now we will apply, since we have reviewed this plan and we are sure that this kind of infrastructure we want. Now we can apply our changes so that it can be visible in our AWS. So it is asking my permission. Only yes will be accepted to approve. So now question comes is like, do I need to manually enter the yes all the time or not? So the answer is no. So whenever we create this kind of script or this kind of infrastructure, we always go through our CI/CD pipelines. Nobody, not even the developer, DevOps, or any QA person, are supposed to touch base the code for this kind of small, creation and deletion of environment during the automation. So everything will be integrated with our CI/CD pipeline, where on the like CI/CD console, you will say yes or no. After that, the execution will start. It will take some time. It says the AWS instance example, which is the name of our machine name is creating. Yeah, it is now. Let's have a look on our AWS console. Yeah. Now here we get there's one instance running. Now how to cross check? This is the same we have created. Yeah. When I so that's the importance of tag name. When let's say there it can be in a real-time scenario, there can be like multiple instances running on. So these tags are really important to filter the specific one you want to check. We can check the details of this. Is the AMI? AMI is of Ubuntu on the Unix machine, and let's say the T2 micro is there. This is a public IV instance ID. Like this is the thing. This is how your instance is created on AWS. Now move back to the few use cases. So what are the use cases that generally happens during the this infrastructure test cases? First is provisioning the environment. For example, you have a requirement where you have to, after a deployment, you have to launch the environment again. Then there should be no manual effort. You can entirely automate this scenario, this Terraform, and you can even validate the functionality and validate. For example, after every time you create the scenario, you want to check the configuration of memory, CPU, and other environment parameter, then this Terraform can help you. And scalability. Yeah, so scalability is a very key factor, a very important key factor. For example, my pre-production environment requires two instances during the weekdays. Okay, because people are testing on this, QA person also testing, product person also testing, but on the weekend there is not so much traffic. So what I can do, like on every Friday evening, I can scale down it to one instance. On every Monday morning, I can scale up to two instance. So do I need to do this manually? Ideally, no. All this can be again automatically using the Terraform. Memory checks, CPU checks, I already discussed. Auto scaling automation. So like I told you, we can automate entire auto scaling process. System resolution testing and rule based access control testing. So when we control this let's say when we create a new environment, so we have like number of users. Okay, so it can be, so if I manually after relaunching environment every time, if I'm manually granting the access to different users, it can be erroneous sometime. So this automation way can be really helpful, where this automation script will help me which user to assign which right. So last but not the least, how infrastructure can help your project. Very first thing, reduction in production failure. So you can reduce number of production failures, since you know earlier, like these are the you know the breakdown of your system, and you can setting alerting on the same. So this you can be aware of production failure, then the production fails actually. Quick and test execution, empowering early go live. So there are so many things which you do manually when it comes to infrastructure side. Now everything like from the execution and launching, deploying is everything is automatically. So it is at the end saving my time, saving the annual cost operation as well as the business. Now you have fully control on the environment. So generally what I have seen in my previous companies as well, and like is like general people launch the machine and forget to stop this. So that's how keep on your uh, billing. So this wastes a lots of money. So again, you can control this. Reduction in downtime, as you are aware of production failure before. So it can reduce your downtime, and better infrastructure at the end ultimately result into better quality of product. Environment is availability of stable environment are pretty stable, as is a fully controlled. Okay, reduction in cost involved in risk. So there can be a time, so risk is a very wide topic which I don't like to call it out, but uh, when we deals in a very larger project, so it's not only about the production bugs which are of risks. It can be other risks as well, like security and some like user data access. So number of risks are there, so you can also create a reduction in those risks as well. And at the end, good product, stable environment will give result to a better user experience. That's all for this basic introduction of Terraform. Thank you for your time. Now we are open to take questions.
Yes. So yes,
Yeah.
let's go one by one through questions. So the first question we have is, instance type is file name for resource. Is the question.
Instance type is file name. Can someone please elaborate for you want to know the file name? So file name can be of everything, anything. Like it's just for the seeking of simplicity, I just keep the name of instance.tf. You can make it abc.tf, you can make infra.tf, anything, whatever you want.
Good. So I hope that actually answered the question. If not, please post the question again. Let's go to the another question. It says, where is infrastructure as code practiced? That is, in which kind of projects? Is Ansible alternative to Terraform?
Very, very good question, whoever asks this. So where infrastructure as a code practices. So okay, I take an example of my project only. So the project I am working on is not a very usual project where developer is building a like a user feature. User will search something, and then you will click on this, some result will appear, and QA person will write test case of this. So this is not simple in that kind of project. It's entirely infrastructure type of project. So in this kind of project where you work, you have a QA. So your responsibility is not limited to a QA person only. You actually a infra consultant more than a QA consultant. So where you have to come up with innovative ideas, how you can help your project, how you can make your infrastructure stable, because these are the something, because again the dev and DevOps will think about the ideal positive approach where the QA comes into the picture. No, these can be testing we can do with the infrastructure. This is how we can play. And again, Ansible alternative to Terraform, no. So Ansible has some other qualities which Terraform can't fulfill, and vice versa. So these are not alternative actually. Like
Okay.
Azure can't be alternative of AWS and vice versa.
Okay. Okay, so let's go to another question. AWS has cloud formation. Is there a better advantage in using Terraform or AWS infra?
No, there is no better, there is no worse. You only need to learn Terraform. If you have mastered the Terraform, then no matter where you which in any kind of project you go, it's a Terraform, it's a AWS, it's a Kubernetes, it's a GCP, it's Alibaba, it's OpenShift, or name any cloud. Okay, so Terraform, I believe support 200 or 300 plus. I need to check the website. Even you guys can check. So if you only know the Terraform, you don't need to worry about which cloud it is. Just enjoy your, and make your life easier.
Cool. Cool. Let's go to another question. So you're actually provisioning the infra using Terraform. How does QA automation comes into picture?
Because I am the QA in that project. That's how QA comes into picture. Because if let's say think about a scenario where as a QA you are assigned to an infrastructure project, how you will justify your role, and sometimes not justify, it's also proving your skills. A QA is not bound to a Selenium. Very first thing I would call out again in the current scenario, and especially in ThoughtWorks, QA is not bound to Selenium or any kind of particular technology. Correct me if I am wrong, guys. Yeah. So as QA is technical, no matter the project is the infra, is a security, QA is supposed to show and present their skills.
Cool. So let's go to another question. It says, how do you set up CI/CD for Terraform? Let's say using Jenkins.
Yeah, you can use Jenkins, but GoCD is also there, which is supported by ThoughtWorks. So in my project, we use GoCD. So you can again integrate Terraform scripting with the CI/CD. So there are some number others there. You can Google it on this, but it's very similar. So again, I would like to say, when it comes to the automation, don't expect anything to be manual. Okay, because it is a very good practice. Like if a dev person, if a QA person or DevOps person is every day going to the portal, so how risky it can be on non-production environment, even though it can work. But think of the production environment. Have someone shut down the machine by mistakenly. Okay, so nobody should allow play with the CI/CD pipeline. Just indicate this. Yeah, Jenkins can be a very good tool for the same. Even GoCD is also. You should try GoCD.
Okay. So please provide a scenario how Terraform can be used with Kubernetes.
Yes, I think this guy is working with Kubernetes. Yeah. So, when you come to again, I will look to and I have to talk about my project only. So we are not directly using the AWS. We are using AWS with Kubernetes cluster, AWS EKS. Okay, where on what is Kubernetes? It's like orchestration technology. On the layer of that, we are using Amazon clouds. So these things are like very much integrated. If your project is running on AWS Amazon EKS, AWS EKS like Kubernetes cluster, then you just have to integrate Kubernetes provider. Like for example, I can't show the code of my project because it's like security compliances on the client side. So here, for example, here I have taken the provider as the AWS. So the provider can be Kubernetes. Very simple.
Understood. So how to decide on resources? Are the resources decided on project level and QA writes the Terraform config according to it? Is the next question we have.
Yes. Yes. So for example, you know your environment. You are the best person to know your environment, or you can touch with the dev or DevOps. Like what kind of environment we have, how many machines we have, and do we have RDS? Do we have NoSQL databases? Do we have load balancer? Do we have security group attached to this? And what is the name of VPC and all? Once you have all this knowledge about, then you can start writing Terraform script. It's similar to like you are automating your web application where there is a search box, there is a text box, there is a table will appear on this. So this is again very similar. Here just the user interface is displaced with the infrastructure. Simple.
Cool. So that was really interesting questions and answers, Yash. So thank you so much for this wonderful session.